My name is Peter Miller. I'm also known as the Literary Lion. I've been in the literary and film businesses for decades. I've made many people millions of dollars, and I've made many people's dreams come true. And I'm here today to share some wisdom with the Dublin International Writers Conference. I'm grateful to Lawrence O'Brien for allowing me to have this opportunity. And I hope that something I say in this presentation right now will inspire you to be more creative and more effective in your writing career. I'm going to share with you some wisdom that I've learned over the years about choosing people to work with. As you all know, we're suffering from the worst pandemic that we've ever experienced as a planet, but we will learn from this. This too shall pass. And hopefully we'll all come out of this better human beings with more gratitude for what a wonderful life we're leading. I'm in a unique position in that I've been doing this for decades. I've probably sold over 1,500 books around the globe. I've represented many New York Times bestsellers. I made a few hundred motion picture and television cable deals. And now I'm in a world that's changing every day. The most important thing that I look for in choosing a client is trust. And one of my clients, Dr. Paul Dobransky, who wrote a book called The Secret Psychology of How We Fall in Love, had a wisdom in it about how the human brain works. And the human brain is basically divided into three parts: the limbic brain, the reptilian brain, and the cortex brain. The cortex brain is the big brain. The limbic brain is the smaller brain, and then the reptilian brain. Well, he divided the brain into 3 cylinders per section. So essentially the brain has 9 cylinders, and in order to have a good relationship with someone, all those cylinders should be firing at the same time. For example, the cortex brain is about trust. The limbic brain is about friendship, and the reptilian brain is about passion. So in order for me to choose a client, I need to trust the client. I want to feel friendly towards the client, and I need to be passionate about what they're writing about. So that's a little test that you can use in all your relationships, because trust is really the most important thing to have in any relationship. Another thing I like to do is look into a person's future. I invite you to go on YouTube and see a trailer that I produced, maybe a dozen years ago for a video that I produced in the publishing industry called Author Screenwriter. And in that trailer, I tell a story about taking yourself into the future and looking back at your past. So I invite you to think about what your career might look like 3 years from now. And you can look back at your past, and if you see that you had a New York Times bestseller, or you see that you had a motion picture rights sale, or you see that you had dozens of foreign sales and fabulous reviews and accolades from famous people, you obviously have been embarked on a wonderful career. But if you suspect that you did some things wrong, like you wrote the wrong book, or you chose the wrong literary manager or agent or wrong lawyer, or you wound up working with the wrong publisher, you might be able to envision what you could do right in your career versus what you might have done wrong. So I'm inviting you to be a clairvoyant. And if you watch this trailer, Author Screenwriter Peter Miller, on YouTube, you will learn about how maybe you can take yourself into your future and look back at your past. The other thing I look for is whether or not a person has the ability to create a platform. Years ago, there was a sign in the front. This was a cartoon in a New Yorker magazine. For all you foreigners, you may not know New Yorker magazine, but it's a prestigious New York, somewhat literati magazine. And it's a picture of a New York bookstore. And in the front of the bookstore is a sign that said, "This is an excellent book. It will never be a motion picture." And then there might be a sign next to that that would say, "A good book is a good book is a good book." Well, some books aren't meant to be movies. I like to work on projects that have motion picture potential because there's nothing better than the metamorphosis of your words into a film that you can see on the big screen or Netflix or Amazon. But the good book is a good book is a good book will always be the case. But there is another ingredient in any successful author's career today, and that is what your platform is. And when I talk about your platform, I talk about your website, your blogs, your podcast, and what people say about you on the internet. Unfortunately, marketing is as important as the quality of the work. I grew up in this book business for many years, and I once renovated a loft in New York, and I stripped all the paint off the windowsills and found original oak. And I ripped down the plaster from one wall, and behind that wall was real beautiful red brick. And I used to talk to my potential clients and say, when you come to my office, I want you to remember a couple of things. Number one, this is real wood. It's not been covered up. Number two, they're real bricks. And number three, I believe in hardcover publishing. There's nothing better than a hardcover book. But now we're in a world that has completely changed over the last few decades. And why has it changed? Well, the internet, Amazon, and e-readers. So now approximately 50% of all books are read on ebooks. So I share this wisdom with you because in order for me to look at any potential client, I have to analyze whether or not they have a future. And whether or not they have a future is whether or not they have the bandwidth to not only write great work, but also to build a career vis-a-vis their presence on the internet and in the media. So I'm going to share with you, all of you people that attend the Dublin International Writers Conference, an article I wrote called Promote, Promote, Promote. And I will also share with you a copy of a book that I wrote a number of years ago called Author Screenwriter. So Lawrence O'Brien will be happy to give you links to that article and that book. And I want to invite you all to really look into your crystal ball right now. You might say, crystal ball? I don't have a crystal ball. Well, I guarantee you have a crystal ball, and you need to find it, and you need to learn how to use it. And you also need to think about what your toolkit is, because an author's toolkit today is anything that they can do to create gripping writing that's factual and entertaining. And you have been challenged like you've never been challenged in your life to become a successful author. I've been doing this forever. I've made a lot of people millions of dollars. I'm not regretting anything I've done. I love my work as a literary lion. I might even roar for you if you don't mind. But please look at what you're doing very carefully. You only get one chance to make a first impression. And that first impression is when you come to someone like me or another literary representative with the proverbial query letter. I wouldn't recommend you have any misspellings in it. I wouldn't recommend any run-on sentences. And I would recommend that you really learn how to do an elevator pitch in a one-page letter. That's the start. It's a craft. So just don't be in a hurry to send it to 52 agents because you may not even get a response. So I want to thank you for this opportunity to share my piece of wisdom with you on how to think about your career and think about what a literary manager's brain does in terms of analyzing people and projects. Unfortunately, I find myself at this stage of my career being a little bit more critical than I ever have been. I've always had an open door policy to every author around the globe that wanted me to look at their work. And I've given hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of free advice to authors for decades. I'm reluctant to do that now, particularly in the world of fiction. Most of the work that I'm doing now is based on nonfiction book proposals. You'll see in my book, if you get a chance to read it, there is a chapter on developing a nonfiction book proposal. And if you are a novelist, I wish you luck. We're just taking on a new novelist who's written 12 novels. I'm listening to the Audible version, and I'm absolutely riveted. I'm wide open to new projects. I primarily look for authors that write cutting-edge fiction or narrative nonfiction with motion picture or television potential. So our website is www.globallionmanagement.com. I have a YouTube channel, Peter Miller - The Literary Lion. And I hope that I can be at your service, because nothing makes me happier than making an author's dream come true. And I just want to share with you any author's favorite 4 words. They were written in an introduction by an author I managed many years ago to my book author screenwriter. And those words are: the end, bidding war.